Inner Peace Better Health, where simple steps lead to big change. I'm your host, Shreya, and today we are joined by the ever practical Dr. Len Lopez, fitness innovator, nutrition expert, and creator of the 5 Steps a Day method. For over 25 years, Dr. Lane has helped people ditch overwhelm and build better habits that last. Today talk is all about how your mindset and movement can work with you and not against you, and how just 5 steps can move you from stuck to unstoppable. So, welcome, Dr. Len. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
So, Dr. Len, your method is called 5 steps a day. What are
Yeah.
these steps, and how did you boil transformation down to something so doable?
Well, the steps are simple, and the steps is an acronym for sleep, think, eat, physical, and spirit. And what I've known through the years with in my in my practice, most people came to me for their physical health, right? Not not for their mental health, or not for their fiscal health either. They came for their physical health. But and I noticed I was I just the challenges they would have, and I know there's a whole mind body spirit connection, and I thought, okay, they're doing everything, and I'm teaching them for what to do to get healthy, to get physically fit and everything. But what are we doing to help them with the other aspect, with their mind and their spirit? And so it's something I created years ago. Real quick, let me share what the steps are. And everybody knows, because there's a lot of people out there that are tracking their physical steps, right? They're using their watch, they're tracking how many steps they're doing in a day, if they're getting 5 or 10,000 steps. They may be trying to see if they filled their rings in, if they're using their Apple Watch and everything. Well, that's great for their physical body. And so what about the mind and spirit? And so, as I said, STEPS is an acronym for sleep, think, eat, physical, and spirit. So if you carve out some time in your day to get physically active, right? Whatever you did, shade in the P for physical, right? And did you eat right today? Okay, I'm not going to ask if you ate perfect, because some of the diets I see out there are just really too strict and everything. But did you eat at least more good meals than bad? If you did, get this step in the right direction. Shade in the E. That's for your physical health. But how about what about the mind? Did you think better? I think you know as well as anybody, we are what we eat and what we think. And so
Yeah.
are you rehashing just more the fear, worry, and anxiety about the day? Or do you take a minute or two just to remind yourself that you are good. I feel confident. I feel strong. I can do it. And if you give yourself that little bitty pep talk, shade in the tea because you thought better today. But what about when you slept at night? And this is really important because so many people I see, and I see it in my home too, that they fall asleep with a remote control in their hand or their phone in their hand, and whatever thoughts they had, that's going to kind of carry through their subconscious for the next 8 hours, approximately 8 hours. I know people aren't sleeping 8 hours anymore today, but their subconscious mind is being led by those last thoughts they were. So I'm just saying, did you sleep with a smile on your face? Did you sleep with good thoughts in your mind of what you want to see happen for tomorrow, your goals, your visions, your ambition? If you did, just tap that in your head before you went to bed, shade in that first S. And the last step is spirit. Did you work your spiritual muscles? I always say to neglect your spirit is kind of like skipping a meal. It's going to leave you empty. And so if you did something, and if you did something more than just going to service once a week, once a month, once every 2 years, I know as a strength conditioning coach, if I only worked out my body once a week, or once a month, twice a month, twice a year, it's not going to be physically strong to handle when I need it. And so that's what the steps are. Every day, just kind of shading your steps. And what's unique about it here is that when you look at it at the end of the week, you can really see. There's something about visually seeing your footsteps on there, how many steps you took, how much progress did you make, and I think that leaves more of an impression, especially for if you're more visual and kinesthetic, to say, hey, I did good today. I've done good the last 3 days. Oh, look, I missed a few days. I didn't do as well. And so it just kind of helps, because there's a lot of people that just simply aren't motivated enough to read a so-called self-help book or listen to some self-help guru out there. But when they start seeing the steps, I think it just anchors in their subconscious a little bit better.
Yes, yes, that's so wonderful, and it's amazing how small shifts can create that compounding power over time. And thank you for sharing this. And how do people typically sabotage themselves when trying to build new habits?
Everybody has there's gobs of books talking about what you need to do, and what I just kind of carved it down to is that we're responsible for ourselves. I'm the old guy with young kids, and so I'm trying to teach them just what habits are you creating for yourself, because the habits and attitude you create for yourself, you're going to find out, especially if you're younger, that these are going to set the foundation for many of the victories you're going to have later on in life, many of the accomplishment. What kind of habits have you created for yourself? But the other side of the coin is your habits and attitude. They're also can be the reason for many of the challenges and failures you've ran across in your life and difficulties you've seen in your life. And so everybody's trying to get improve themselves in some way or another.
Yeah, beautiful. And also, Doctor, you emphasize attitude just as much as action. Why is mindset so critical to physical health?
I think when you think about the mindset, when you wake up in the morning, and this is where a lot of people don't have any kind of goals. Now, you don't have to have a goal to climb Mount Everest, but you have to have something to look forward to. If you wake up every morning and you don't think about what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, if it's just a drag to get up and grab your shoes, brush your teeth, eat, go to work, come back, and as opposed to, what am I working towards? And I think there's so much good research out there showing that people who have some kind of goal, they are more mentally not, I don't know if that stable is not the right word, but their mindset is a little bit clearer. And I like to just kind of equate it to the same way like sailors. I've always heard, I'm not a sailor, I've always heard you never set sail without knowing your destination. And I like to use the analogy, if you don't know where your land of milk and honey is or what it is for you, don't complain if you land at the land of heartaches and headaches. If you know where you want to go, put that in your mind, let it feed, let it milk inside you. And, slowly but surely you can try to get there or somewhere close. But if you just wake up and I see a lot of people, I know in practice, when I was in full practice, I've had patients come in and they would, yeah, we'd be working on their shoulder or their hip or their intestines or their whatever kind of ailment they were dealing with. And when you're working with people, you can also they start sharing more information. And it's amazing to start learning more and more about some of what they are trying to do and what they're not achieving. And so that's kind of how I finally got into creating my little steps program, because people just, what do you feed your mind? We've known for as I've studied, you go back in all the different religions out there. We've known for over 2,000 years, and they've all said it a different way. You are what you eat, and you are what you think. And so the question comes back: what are you eating? What are you putting in your physical body? What are you putting into your head, into your mind?
That reminder that our belief shapes our habit is a game changer. And can you share a mindset that has had a big impact on your own life?
Well, I guess for me, it's always been just trying to wake up in the morning and have that smile on the face, because, and that's what I mean by, if you go to bed at nighttime thinking about where you want to go. And that's why when I first created that first step, the sleep step, is did you sleep with a smile? Because if you visualize that achievement, whether you're visualizing something just 5 days down the road or 5 years down the road, the new car, the new job, I mean, I used to visualize getting married. I mean, I was, I hate saying this, but I was like, I got married I shouldn't say the first time. I've only been married once, but I got married late in life, like late 39, and I used to visualize seeing myself, at the wedding, at the chapel, sitting there, visualizing everything, and several years later, it turned out exactly that way. So you got to plant the seed somehow in your mind of where you want to go. Unfortunately, hate saying it, but these little things that we carry in our pockets all day long on these phones, they are so distracting. They make you think, they occupy your mental energy, and you don't get a chance to think what you want to do. You're just always being entertained, and I think it's not good for us overall. I think they're great. It's like a car. It can be great for you to get to work, but if you drive wrong, you can hurt somebody, right? So it's how you use it.
And the way you say that it's so accessible that when you sleep, you just sleep with a smile. This is so accessible practice that can change everyday life of ours. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge and experience. And also, you say train smart, eat right.
Right.
What is one myth about fitness or nutrition that is holding people back right now?
Well, one, I think that's such a great question, because I think it's like anything else, misinformation. And there's so much information out there. And my simple principle: eat right, train smart, think better. And eat right. And I said there's like three steps in eat right and three steps of train smart. But the first step of eat right, that I think has been missed for years, and for some in the health industry, is it's not what you eat, it's kind of how you eat. Just because you ate it, that's my first rule. Just because you ate it doesn't mean your body absorbed it. And so many people, for the last 10 years, I think the scales have shifted, where before the most common reason for absenteeism at work was low back pain. Because then, that was such a huge common problem out there. But in the last 10 years, that's the number one reason for absenteeism is gut health. They just complain about their tummy, this, that, and the other. And I know in my practice, when patients would fill out their health questionnaire, there's different sections on there. One about your gut, one the elimination system, your immune system, your thyroid, your heart, the whole bit. And the one that was always the most populated with higher numbers, which means it's really affecting people, were digestive problems that people just don't talk about it. And I always kind of say this joking, it's true. I believe both men and women are more than happy to share with you how their hormones are bad today, their allergies are bad today, their head's killing them, all of that. But they'll never share with you how bad their digestive system is working right now, how bloated and gassy they are, because that's kind of like, you only say that in the privacy of your own home, or even with your doctor. And so trying to eat, just because you ate it doesn't mean your body absorbed it. And so you need to look at what are you eating, and it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat. And it's so many patients said, "Well, I'm eating this. I have a cooler in my car, and these are the best health bars out there, doc, and it's all organic." Yeah, but maybe your problem isn't you're choosing the right foods, but you're eating on the go, in the car, in a hurry, on the run. And when you do that, you don't allow your digestive system to turn on, because your fight or flight system is activated on the go, which means you put all this food in your system, but your body's just in that go, go, go method. And so a lot of times that food just starts rotting inside your body. It doesn't get broken down properly. And then as it races through that 25-foot canal we call our intestine, it starts rotting and putrefying in there. And if you've done any history and reading about the good and the bad bacteria in our guts, that promotes more of the bad bacteria, that lower GI problem that are just so prevalent. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't start seeking help because, okay, my tummy doesn't feel bad. I'll take this or this or this, some over the counter medication, but it's creating more downstream problems out there, whether it's throwing your hormones off, whether it's throwing your immune system off, whether it's making you more jittery. It's just, you got to look at the start. eat right. So make sure what you're eating is that your body is breaking it down. And I always say, if you get bloated, gassy, irritable, sneezy, sleepy after eating, that's a sign your body didn't really like what you fed it. And you need to either change what you eat or change that habit of eating on the go, on the run, in the car. Now, let me just say also, you I mean, I'm guilty of eating on the go, on the run, in the car also, but there's things you can do to help minimize that, and there's things you can take to help blunt the negative effects. And that's just about being smart about what. There's a couple of supplements you might want to take. Digestive enzyme. There's, I like the chewable digestive enzymes. You can take those because I'll have people say, "Doc, these are the best health parts. I eat them on the go," but you still got to break down that protein. And this is what's so many people are eating more protein, but protein is like the most hardest thing in your body to of the three macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat. It is very hard. It's harder to digest and everything. And you need to be in that relaxed, calm state because that's when you kick in your digestive system. It turns on. And I always joke, we've known that we're supposed to sit, eat, and relax. Unfortunately, there's not a prescription you can get for that. But as I always say, watch any old movie like Gladiator or Braveheart. You don't see them racing down the hill, swinging a sword in one hand and carrying a turkey leg in the other while they're trying to eat on the go. But that's how we live our lives today. And so, learn how when it's time to eat, eat. When it's time to do your work or do something else, do your job and do your work and everything. But it's that eating on the go that that is really difficult for a lot of people now.
Yes. And it's so refreshing to hear the clarity in a space filled with noise and trends. So thank you for sharing this. And you're building an app. How do you see tech supporting people on their habits building journey rather than distracting them?
I'm not sure I can understand how I want to answer that question, but it's when let me go back. I said I created steps years ago, and I've been using it for myself and everything. And then one day I was made an interview for a magazine, and I was being interviewed, and we did an interview on health and fitness. They came back about a year later. They said, "Hey, Doc, we really like the interview we did with you on health and fitness. We want to do another one, or we see your interest. We want to do kind of instead of just health and fitness, let's do kind of body, mind, spirit." I don't know if that's within your realm, Doc, but just want to share that with you because we loved your information, and I don't know if that's going to scare you off or something like that. So I thought about it, scratched my head a little bit, and the next morning I sent them what I've been doing for the last, I think, about 12 years, 15 years at the time. And they came back, and the editor came back, and they said, "This is the coolest little thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. There's all kinds of journals and the self help books out there, but like I said, in 2 minutes, you can quickly see, are you doing the things that's going to help improve your habits and attitude?" And that's how kind of the steps were born for me to finally share with somebody. The hard part for me was that every time I said, okay, they liked it, they loved it and everything. So I shared it with various friends and other, yeah, friends. And they, every time they read it, said, "This is really great, Doc." The two things they kept saying, "This is really great. Um, you need to make this an app instead of I was using a journal, just paper and pencil. I'm an old guy, right?" And he goes, "This is really great." He goes, "But they'll say, you need to make it an app, and my kids need to read this." So it would scratch my head, say, "Well, no, I think it's going to be better here." But as I shared it with more people, they kept on saying, "Doc, yeah, my kids need to read this, and I think you need to make this an app because everybody's using an app. Everybody's using paper and pencil. I'm still using paper and pencil." So that finally got me on the road with enough people convinced me, and so it was kind of a new challenge. I've I used years ago through my practice, just some of the fortune I had as far as helping others. I kind of climbed up and everything, and had a TV show, hosted a couple of different shows and everything. Started a nutrition company, and even invented a fitness product that I still sell today. But it's like, okay, computer technology, that's not my that's not in my wheelhouse. So I had to sit there and reach out to others and we finally got the app up, 5 steps a day. Hope you can check it out, take a look at it. We'll talk about that more. But that's just a new challenge. Maybe I don't know. Hopefully, it's beneficial for those that are out there.
Yes, yes. And I think because the new generation and also the middle-aged people, they are more into apps and phone rather than reading books and journals. So if you have this in a app form, they probably would read it and just adapt these habits. But if it's a journal, they would think that okay, it's a journal, I will read probably might later. So it's a very good thing to build an app for the new gen. And
Well, no, go ahead.
yes, go ahead.
No, well, what I was saying, and as I started thinking more and more about it, and I've always thought, and the way I first created, because I used to just put it. This is 20 years ago. I would
Mm,
put my activities on my 1 month calendar on the wall, and at the end of the month, I could really see, oh yeah, listen, I worked out X number of times this week. I practiced my golf this number of times this month. I practiced dancing this month. I read this much during the month, and it was just kind of again, that visual thing that just made me feel that much better instead of because I used to journal also. And it became more and more challenging to spend 30 minutes an hour. And the difficulty for me with journaling was it was really hard to go back and read this stuff because that's like who has an extra hour, 2 hours to go back and read what you did 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 years ago. And so, yeah, so I can understand the value of the app because the way we built it was that you can go back and just kind of see what you did very quickly and
mm.
see how good or bad you're doing. You can put notes in there as well. So, yeah, again, if y'all get a chance, please check it out. It's on Apple and Google. Please download it and see what you think.
Yes, yes. Can you just name the app?
It's called 5 Steps a Day. Very simple, 5 steps a day, and it's free to use. Just check it out, download it. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up and everything. I would really appreciate that and share it with somebody. But give it a try to see. And I think that's what really the real beauty is because so many people are visual and kinesthetic. They're not going to read another book out there. But in my opinion, and what I've read in other stuff, when people can really see those footprints out there, and they can see, one week they had like 27 steps filled in for the week of the 35 potential steps. And then the next week they flip it and they go, oh, I only did like 7 steps. Oh, what am I missing? What am I doing? And again, diets are great, exercise is great. It's just, are you doing the things on a regular basis that's going to move you forward and where you want to go? And so we talk about that and trying to give you throughout the days, you'll receive little just one little reminders as far as what are you focused on, where are you going, are you doing anything, how are you trying to get out of that vicious cycle, and let's see if we can move you into that virtuous circle by thinking better, eating right, feeling your body, mind, and spirit appropriately.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing this. And also, let's say someone who is listening right now, feeling behind or feeling burnout. What is the very first of the 5 steps that they could take today?
God, probably the first thing they can do is they just have to realize just what kind of thoughts are you putting in your head. I mean, I sound like a broken record. You are what you eat and what you think. But we know if you're eating cheeseburgers, hamburgers, and ice cream shakes, that's not going to give you on the road to the best health, right? But the same as can be said if you keep reminding yourself of fear and worry and anxiety. I go to bed with, I don't like my job. I'm fearful of my job. I don't like the people I go around with. There's nothing positive there going in your head. You have to take the time to put something in. And researchers tell me, or I've heard and research, they say that we actually put about 50,000 thoughts a day in our head. That's how many thoughts we process. And what was more astounding when I learned that number was that everything I kept on studying and finding was that about 80% of our thoughts are slanted to are from yesterday. So more than 80% of your thoughts are thoughts from yesterday. And of those yesterday's thoughts, 90% of them are slanted negatively. And so if you do the math, about 80% of your thoughts are negative reruns of yesterday. And people sometimes don't consciously realize that. So you need to put a conscious effort to change that. It's similar to if you want to get bigger biceps. You have to do something to make that happen. And if you're on this negative slant, and we all are, everybody thinks more on the negative side. And I like to tell everybody, Doc, you're saying 80% of our thoughts are negative and 20% are just positive. Yeah, but like in baseball, you go up to the plate and 10 times you're going to strike out or you're not going to get on base, only maybe 20% of the time. If you can do it 30% of the time, you can make it in the Major League Baseball, make a pretty good living just at a success rate of only 30%. So we have to just slowly start putting our mind in some positive thoughts and fill our head with just something to look forward to. And unfortunately, a lot of the next generation, current generation, they're not being, I don't say educated, but if someone helped teaching them, you have to know where you want to go in life. If you're not sure where you want to go, what you want to do, and I say that because again, so many of the patients I've seen over the years, they would sit there in my office and struggling with whatever physical health problem they had, and they would make various confessions. And I'm mid 30s, I'm early 40s, 50s, and yeah, I have a wife, I have a mortgage, I have a job, but I'm just not happy with what I'm doing or how it's shaking out. And so, we have to put conscious effort to change that. And hopefully, again, the steps is get you to remind yourself, pat yourself on the back, and that's all what steps is. It's accountability and feedback. Are you giving yourself that little pep talk, once, two, three, four, 5 times a day? And again, you may think, my little positive pep talk for 1 minute, is that going to really do anything, Doc? But that 1 minute pep talk is one less minute you're not beating yourself and kicking yourself in the rear. So I look at it that way too.
Yes, that daily commitment for one step at a time. It's what brings real and lasting health. And thank you for sharing this. I think it's a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
They can find me online. You can go to fivestepsaday.com. There's a site there. They can download it. I'm on all the various social sites out there under 5 Steps a Day. You can also find me under Dr. Len online. But yeah, I think I'm out there. I haven't been out there because I've been occupied with other stuff. And so now that this came about, I have to use and learn all the technologies of today to get that message out.
Yes, yes. And I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you because you're a wonderful person and you have a plethora of knowledge. And thank you for sharing some of them with us and your experience. This is really wonderful. And big thank you to Dr. for reminding us that transformation doesn't have to be complicated, but just consistent. And
Right.
to my listeners, with 5 steps a day, better health isn't a goal you chase, it becomes who you are. So, if you have been waiting for the perfect time to start, here is your sign: one step today. Until next time, breathe deep, stay steady, and take your next right step.